Yeah.
So I prayed before I read my Bible, and I had my Bible like this, and I asked God to just take me where He wants, you know, give me whatever message comes from wherever He chooses to send me. And it started with Ezra chapter 10, the last chapter of Ezra, which is him separating the husbands and wives, because the wives of those men were not of God. They were like exotic women that they weren't supposed to marry. So he exiled all the women and all the children. And so in doing so, he's cleansing Judah, his homeland, for God, so to bring back God's people to him, and to cleanse them of their sins and just rebuild them in their faith in God. So then it takes me to Nehemiah, and I read chapters 1 through 6. And in that, Nehemiah, his people from Judah came to him and let him know that his land was in ruin. The wall was in rubble, and just things weren't going so great. So he asked the king. The king saw that he was saddened, and he asked him why his heart was so sad, and he told him about his land. And before he asked him, he prayed to God that the king would have favor over him. And when the king asked him, I forgot to tell you this, at the same time as he was asking the king for what he needed, he was praying to God at the same time. And so the king did have favor on him, and he allowed him to go fix his homeland, and he sent him with provisions and, letters and, to back him up to do so. When he got to Judah, he examined the wall, and he saw that it was in rubble. When he saw that it was in rubble, he knew he had to rebuild it. And so he got his people, they were rebuilding it, and they had all these adversaries pretty much against them building Judah. And at first I was confused until I started to write in my book, and I realized, wow, okay, I see what God wants me to know. I have to build a wall, not physically but spiritually. I have to build, because what they were doing is protecting their homeland against invaders, against sinners. So I realized I have to build that spiritual wall and protect myself and rebuild my relationship with God and protect myself against temptations and, Satan's attacks and things like that. My wall is God. He is my strength. I'm his sheep, I have to follow him. And so that is my wall. That is my protection against all the things that are not of God, and that's how I rebuild my relationship with him. I rebuild my spiritual wall, and my spiritual wall is my relationship with God.
Amen.
So I'm glad that he took me there, and I'm glad that I realized what it is that he wanted me to understand from that book, because I was so confused.
And because you told her, because you asked.
I did, yeah, I asked. That's how I started the story.
Yeah.
So I asked him, I prayed, and I asked him to take me to where he wanted, to the message that he wanted to bring to me, and to allow me to discern and understand it. And I got discouraged at first because I didn't discern it and I didn't understand it. But as I wrote, I started to understand.
And that's the thing. That's the thing about it, is that you don't, like, when you do ask him to take you somewhere, it might be something totally irrelevant physically to you.
Physically,
but then when you actually get into it, and you like, hold on, in the spirit, spiritually, these are lessons of life.
Yeah, and I didn't want to stop reading.
Historical things, making it a lesson for you. Mm-hmm. Me and my boy Austin was talking about how his book, his word is omnirelevant. You can read the same thing at 1,000 different times,
and it'll always be something different.
But it's the same word, and it'll always mean something